Today we're going to discuss the definition of SD-WAN and its benefits. One thing to note is that we're not going to dive into VMware SD-WAN product in this session. We will have subsequent sessions that will discuss that. For this, we want to lay the groundwork by discussing what is SD-WAN in general and what were the intended benefits that it was supposed to provide for customers. To help get a sense of what drove SD-WAN development, you want to think about and remember what the traditional WAN looked like. And for those who don't know, a traditional WAN really looked like this, a hub and spoke. And the hub was, in the past, more of a data center, and the spokes were all your office locations. And unlike now, where you've got many things hosted in the cloud, such as Office 365, Box, Dropbox, Salesforce, all these applications, in the traditional WAN, everything was hosted within the customer data center, which is also known as the hub. So if you picked up the phone and you want to get dial tone, in many cases, you had to traverse a circuit from your branch to the data center to get dial tone. If you wanted to access email, you open up your Outlook client, went through the private circuit to an Exchange server in the data center to get access to your email. And so because of that, what a lot of companies did was they used private circuits, MPLS specifically, and which ultimately was very expensive. Now you may ask, well, what about internet links? A lot of companies had. They absolutely did. But the internet was really used in two ways. One, traditional internet breakout. So someone who wants to just surf the internet, they would break out over local internet. And two, yes, it is a means to access from the spoke and the hub, but for many customers, it was purely backup because or if it was a backup, it was manual. So there wasn't an automatic failover. So if they had issues on the MPLS side, they have to do and manage some changes on their side to actually use the internet as a backup. So as you can see right away, you can probably guess what the problems that we're trying to fix. But however, like anything that's new, when SD-WAN was first formed, it was very broad. And I think at one count, there's about 80 players in the SD-WAN market because you can very generically say you can do any of these things and say you do SD-WAN. But in terms of reality, what actually happened and what was actually being really required by customers was I want to leverage multiple circuits to increase the throughput between my branches and my data centers, so between the hub and spoke. And I want to secure this traffic because if I am going to use the internet as a viable primary means of connectivity, how do I secure that? Because it is the internet and no one likes being on the news about a security breach in their environment. And thirdly, simplified management. If I am going to go down this route, how do I better see and manage what's going on? As you saw in the earlier slides, the internet backup was in many cases a manual process. So how do I automate all of this? So where it has evolved is that, as you saw in the original broad definition, it was very broad. That's why you saw 80 different players in that space. Now ONUG has come in and created requirements. So that actually has helped really narrow down the amount of SD-WAN players, but also given us some good guidance on features and functionality. Because if you think about it, ONUG is really driven by the members, and the members are not just the providers who make the SD-WAN products, but the end customers. So they help drive what are these requirements. And so as you see now, there's actually good 10 requirements to help really define what makes an SD-WAN vendor. And you want to be able to provide all these and satisfy all these requirements to say you do SD-WAN. Now, as you can guess, based upon a lot of what we talked about the goals, what are the benefits? So as you can see, it's to better utilize backup or idle circuits, because in many cases, there was an internet link or second circuit. Sometimes customers might have a second MPLS where I had a secondary link that I was already paying for. Why can't I utilize that? Why is it sitting there just as a backup? Now, at the same time, because I can better utilize an idle circuit, I can decrease costs because I no longer need to have this mindset that I need to increase the bandwidth of my primary private circuit. At the same time, the ability to fail over to alternate circuits when necessary. So automate that process versus a manual process. And I'll tie it all together with a simplified management of both your security and routing policy is really the overall goals that benefits can give our customers. Because even though you are managing multiple circuits, you have a simplified policy to help control where all your applications are going. So the key takeaways you want to think about is that really where SD came about was enterprises were paying for idle internet circuits and wanted to utilize them as another means versus upgrading their older circuits. At the same time, I want easier management of my traffic over multiple circuits because I do have multiple paths now. How do I manage that? And thirdly, I must have security over my internet circuits and to help address any kind of concerns that the company may have about now sending corporate applications over internet circuits. Thank you for joining me for this session and hope to see you on another one. Thank you very much.